Hey everyone, my name is David Dunbar, the theme park evangelist. As you can see, I finally did go get ready. I changed into something very comfortable to what I was already kind of wearing. Earlier, I was just wearing PJs and a t-shirt, but now I'm wearing sweats. So, yeah, I know it's not very cold outside today, but I still want to be comfortable, especially since this is my first official day just kind of relaxing around the house for the first time in a long time. So, yeah, anyways, I had to wait forever for my last vlog to finish uploading, which was regarding face masks, how uh, mandatory they are in Florida and how mandatory they are in Kentucky. And I kind of went over every little thing. I talked about how um, Florida is not very strict about them, but if you go into Orange County, then they are, and Osceola is kind of the same way. Here in Kentucky, it's a statewide wide requirement, and I also talked about where they're more required than others, like which places are required more so than other places, and that was about it. But now I want to talk to you guys about how um, Disney World and Universal handled the pandemic. Probably not going to be as long of a vlog. I don't have a lot of time left before my roommate Zane gets home, so can't really sit up here for too much longer. I do like vlogging up here whenever I do get the chance. So, that being said, let's get into my discussion. So, on the day that I went to Disney Springs, which is not this past Saturday, but before that, obviously you already know about the face masks. Disney does not allow face masks made with mesh material. They don't allow face masks with holes in them. They don't allow costume masks, and they don't allow neck gaiters. And those are the four masks they don't allow. Before you could enter Disney Springs, you had to see that sign, make sure you had the appropriate face mask or covering on, and then they herded you like cattle because there was so much people there. So we went up and down like four different times through these like long rows before finally we stopped at a tent with where Evan Healthcare was at, and they would take our temperature. Then we would go through these really fancy security systems, and if you passed the test, you kept going. If you failed the test, they pull you off to the side and do additional screening. Once you entered Disney Springs, it was pretty easy going. Um, Obviously, there's going to be more social distancing the busier it gets. So I went on a pretty busy day, so I have a good idea of what it's like right there, right now down there with all the craziness going on. So at one point, we want to go into World of Disney. So in order to make sure there weren't too many people in World of Disney all at the same time, they had an overflow line wrapped around the basin. So people would go up behind the basin to like a backstage area, you could say, and the line would go all the way down, up and around, and come back and stop right in front of the basin. Oh, sorry, not the basin, the World of Disney, and they were only allowing like so many people in at a time. They want to make sure that there weren't too many people in the store at the same time, and not too many people were in the front entrance at the same time. So they would wait and see how many people would walk through, and then they would start allowing more in, and that's kind of how they did it. When I went back last Thursday, it wasn't as busy. I did notice that because it wasn't as busy, they were allowed to just go right in. They did change the signage out that you could enter and exit. You did have to make sure you go in the enter only and the exit only. And I noticed that because of how busy it was that past Saturday, there was only one way in, and that was where that standby line was for Walt Disney, and that was over by the basin. And I thought that was very interesting how that worked out. So I was like, okay, well, that's different. And then after that, you were inside the store. But on a slower day, obviously, you don't have to worry about any of that because of the fact that there's not as many people going in the store at the same time. They are also not doing complimentary chocolates at Ghirardelli in Disney Springs right now, which really stinks. That was another thing I noticed that Disney was not doing at this time. The Disney buses is going to be very interesting. So when we got on the Disney buses, they had all these seats numbered from like 1 to 7 or something like that. And there was only like groups of 3 at a time. And you had to make sure you sat with your group. So if your group sat in group 1, then your entire group had to sit in group 1. Now, obviously, let's say there's like 9 of you. So then your group would take up groups 1, 2, and 3. You, if you're one person and you want to ride, and let's say that there are not many open seats available, then unfortunately they're not going to allow you to get on that bus. Last Thursday is a prime example. So let's just pretend that TJK and Jonathan were not getting on the bus. Let's just pretend it was another family. So let's just say I got on, and every single seat that was legally allowed to be sat on was full. But I happened to find a random seat in the back, but it unfortunately shared the same exact seating as a group of people that were over there. So, with that being said, I would not have been allowed to sit in that bus, because if I had sat in that back corner, that would have been against company policy, and also that would have been against the CDC guidelines, because I can't sit with another family, especially since I don't know them. You can only sit with people you know. Now, if there had been a group or a section, like group 1 or something like that, had like nobody sitting in that group whatsoever, then yes, I would have been allowed to sit in that group, but I probably would have had to sit by myself in that group. I would not have been allowed to have anybody sit with me. I know, it sounds weird, right? Now, as far as like groups of like 2s, I'm not 100% sure how they do it, but it is weird. The whole Disney bus system is very difficult and hard to understand, even when you're there in person. The Skyliner, I'm assuming right now you're only allowed to sit in a cabin by yourself, or if you have a group with you, then you're allowed to sit with your group. You're not allowed to sit with strangers right now, from my understanding, because we never once sat with anybody else. They're also not trying to fill the gondolas right now either, because of the fact that there's a pandemic going on. So they're just trying to keep groups of people together. How they loaded people onto the rides was also very interesting. I know whenever they could, they would put like plexiglass between seats. So like Rise of the Resistance, for example, my brother and I sat in the back row, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it was just my brother and I that sat in the back row, and then there was a family of 4 that sat in the front row, and the only thing that separated us was the plexiglass, which I guess is not necessarily a bad thing, because we're facing the plexiglass and they're facing away from the plexiglass. So even if I were to supposedly cough or something like that, despite wearing a face mask, between the face mask and the plexiglass, which is pretty big, by the way, especially when you're sitting down, there's no way that a cough or sneeze is going to get past the plexiglass. It's got to hit the plexiglass. And the plexiglass is cleaned multiple times a day on top of that. I got a chance to see how they clean the ride vehicles. I went on Splash Mountain last Tuesday. They stopped the ride for about 10 to 15 minutes, and they took some heavy-duty disinfectant, and they sprayed down every single boat, one by one, until they went through all the boats, and then they started loading them again. And that's how they did it. And as soon as they sprayed all the boats, they would send them through the entire ride, and then the ride water would wash off all the disinfectant. I'm sure that while the boat was going through the ride, the disinfectant was already doing its job, though. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then I'm sure other rides were doing that. I heard Big Thunder Mountain did the same exact thing. And then you would get on the ride when all the cars kind of cycled all the way through, all the trains would cycle all the way through the ride again. I also noticed while I was in the queue lines, you probably saw this in some of my videos, that whenever there were parts where you were really close to another group of people in line, like Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, there's one point where you're passing by the windows where you are looking over the Millennium Falcon. You probably remember that from my video. And then you come around and you go back this way. So the only thing that's separating you from the other side of the line is plexiglass, which goes up pretty high. So at least you weren't like having direct contact with anybody. And then the same thing again with Big Thunder Mountain. There's at one point where the path splits when you're going down underneath the main queue line into the area where the rides go. There's plexiglass right there as well, and that goes all the way down until the path goes left and to the right, and then you no longer have to worry about having any kind of contact with anybody. Disney had all the queue lines carefully 6 feet marked apart. Like, it wasn't your typical Disney line where they were like, make sure you fill in all that available space. Instead, they were making sure that you stayed on that 6 foot marker, and you would move from your 6 foot marker to the next one. There were a lot more cast members working to make sure that you were staying within that 6 feet space at all times. Haunted Mansion is another great example. When I went on Haunted Mansion, they have turned off the stretching room for the time being. I think they still have the recording playing, but that's about it. But the stretching room effect is not working right now, as sad as it is. Now you walk into the mansion itself. You walk into the lobby area, then you walk into the stretching room, walk right through it. I was very shocked. There was no congestion of any sort. Haunted Mansion is notorious for having you right on top of everybody. Even while we were walking through the area right before the ride vehicles, I was shocked. For the first time, there were no people that were like right on top of each other, which I've never seen that before with Haunted Mansion. That was the first time I've ever walked through there, and I wasn't pinned against somebody, or somebody wasn't pinned against me. I could actually breathe in there even though I was wearing a face mask, which is hilarious. There's another part of the queue line that you normally go up and then back down before you get on the ride. That's closed off right now because you would be right on top of each other, and they didn't want that. And they didn't want to bother with the plexiglass, so they just didn't do that at all. I think they put plexiglass outside, if I'm not mistaken. I think they put it in the outdoor queue area. So, yeah, I mean, Disney definitely seems to be taking the whole social distancing thing pretty seriously. Using plexiglass whenever possible. Now, wait till we talk about Universal. So, Universal, I personally feel like is practicing social distancing more. So Universal was using a lot of their barricades for like special events and stuff like that. The line for Hagrid's would start over by the Hogwarts Express, and the line was moving very, very quickly. If you had a backpack, you would have to go through a special line that would take you to the lockers. And they were only allowing so many people in the locker area. For the first time, you could actually walk and breathe in the locker area despite wearing a face mask. And you could easily walk right back out. In the past, you would be squished because everybody be on top of you, have all the Brazilians yelling in perfect Spanish the entire time, and you would be just trying to like squeeze through your locker. You're just like, ugh. But not that day. It was very weird. That's the best way to put it. It was very interesting not having to push through crowds to get to your locker, because there were no crowds getting to the lockers for once. I don't even know if a lot of people were still using the lockers, because there was like nobody that was in the locker area, just because of the fact that they were only allowing so many people in the locker area this time. So that kind of changed things around. I think they were only allowing like one group of people at a time or something like that. And then, of course, Universal had all their queue lines carefully measured 6 feet apart as well. I don't think Universal used plexiglass as much as Disney did. Universal did use plexiglass here and there, but Universal didn't really utilize it as much. I'm trying to think here. I do remember on the Kong ride, Skull Island Reign of Kong, they were only allowing so many people to sit in a row. So there were 7 of us all together the day we went to Islands of Adventure. They took the 7 of us and it had 3 of us sit in one row, 4 of us sit in the other. And that's kind of how they did it with that. And then they had plexiglass between each row, and then they had plexiglass on the sides as well. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. I mean, the plexiglass would be all the way across. The only place where there was no plexiglass was obviously on your sides, which it made it kind of blurry because the 3D effect would bounce off the plexiglass, and then on top of that, when you're wearing glasses, unless you know how to wear 3D glasses and a face mask at the same time, it's going to be very difficult. And I did not overly care for the 3D rides as much this time because of the fact that my glasses just kept fogging up the entire time. I wasn't even wearing my regular glasses because I knew they would have fogged up, but I was wearing these 3D glasses and they just kept fogging up the entire time. It was just very frustrating. Something that Universal borrowed from Disney was the idea of no standing in line to do like quick service. It had to be mobile order only. Both of those places are doing that right now. So when we went into the 3 broomsticks, we all sat down at a table and we all had to place orders via the Universal app, the official one, and they would bring us our food. We didn't even have to go up and order our food and have them bring the food to us. We would just do it right there through the app. And you had to use debit card or something like that. And I thought that was kind of annoying and frustrating and interesting at the same time. But hey, at least we all still got food and butterbeer. I heard over at Mills Drive and they still accept cash from my understanding unless they changed it recently. But it's hard to say. My brother ended up ordering not butterbeer, but blue milk last Monday when we were at Hollywood Studios, and he had to do that through the Disney app, and he does not have my Disney experience. I do, because I like to look at the Disney app quite a bit, and I still go to Disney more than he does, and I don't know if it has to do with the fact that I'm just more responsible for my money, or I make more, or the fact that I'm not in debt to a college like he is. It's hard to say, but or maybe it has to do with the fact that I just like Disney more than him. Not to mention, I don't mind flying down. I don't mind going down by myself for short periods of time and then coming right back again. As long as I only go like once or twice a year, I don't care. But yeah, that's just me. But yeah, that was another thing I noticed that both places did. I thought that was interesting as well. I mean, that's for the most part about it. Ooh, I got an email. I wonder what it's about. Let's see here. Oh, Disney Photo Pass service. Well, I already have seen all my photos, so not like I need to see that again. Yeah, I got a memory maker for my trip, and I put a bunch of my photos on my Facebook page. I still need to put them on. Well, I made my Facebook profile, but I still need to put a bunch of them on my Facebook page, and I still need to add them to my Instagram as well. So now that I've got them all on my regular Facebook, I might as well just start selecting which photos I want for my Facebook page and then transfer them over. I don't want to transfer every single one of them. I just want to transfer a select amount because I think some of those photos should definitely be on my Facebook page and my Instagram as well. But I mean, that was pretty much about it. Both Disney and Universal definitely seem to be taking the whole social distancing thing very seriously. Um, Definitely trying to avoid lines as much as possible. Mardi Gras is another perfect example. It's set up more like Epcot's Food and Wine Festival this year versus in the past when everybody was kind of congested together. There are no concerts going on at Universal right now. I don't believe Disney's doing any either. And even if they were doing concerts at Disney, at least they have a seating area over at Epcot in the American Gardens Theater. So I still need to check and see if they're going to do anything for each of the big concert series this year, which would be cool if they are, because at least they have the seating area. It's not like Disney can't just only put so many people over there. One thing I would love to see Universal do that I don't know if they ever will is put a bunch of benches in front of the Universal Music Plaza stage, and then maybe like a roof in case it's raining, instead of allowing all the guests to get all wet versus the band members are staying nice and dry because they're underneath the roof and on the stage. So yeah, I would like to see Universal work on that. Whether they do or not is beyond me. Right now, they're using that whole area as a seating and dining area for Mardi Gras, and then of course all the restaurant or all the places you can get food at are set up like carts where you walk up and you buy your food and then you walk off somewhere and you eat your food. It's very interesting. I've never seen Universal take this approach before, but I know they borrowed it from Disney. I know that for a fact. It's too similar to Disney for them to say, no, it's not. It's like, yes, it is. It's set up just like Disney's Food and Wine Festival, and don't deny it, or Epcot's Food and Wine Festival. I'm hoping that Food and Wine Festival will be going on when I'm down there. We'll have to look and see about that, but in the meantime, I think that will be it for today. I might do a Life as a Working Disney Cast Member series later downstairs, though, this time, since people are going to be heading home soon. And I will see you guys in the next vlog. And always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Have a great day. Peace out.